What's up, you amazing people? I hope you're having a fantastic day. You are, of course, watching and listening to the Daily Dirty 30, also known as the DDT, here on the Kevin Lee Show. And I'm your host, Kevin Lee. Now, for those of you who do not know what the DDT is all about, let me take a moment to explain. You see, it's a show that airs live at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, Monday through Friday, and it's where I spend 30 minutes telling you, the viewer, all about the things that bother me today. What do I get out of it? It's easy. It's cathartic. Why should you tune in? That's even easier. It's entertaining. Sound like a fair trade? Good. Let's get to it. Happy Friday, my friends. How is everyone doing? I hope everyone has made it to the week and you are happy and healthy and productive and hopefully prosperous, or at least surviving during our interesting time, let's put it that way. But again, I hope everyone is doing well. And if not, then we should work on that. Okay, so as you have probably seen, if you saw the title anywhere on here, it is going to be talking about Chicago today and how wonderful Chicago is. Or not. But I actually do have a couple, I think, interesting-ish. Well, I don't know if, actually, maybe not. I mean, they're interesting, but I don't know if they're actually positive. We'll have to see. Where are we at here now? So, as everyone knows, well, let's get to here. So everyone knows, this is me, this is my name, this is where you're at. So if you're watching the Daily Dirty 30, you're in the right place. We do air this show Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, also 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific, which would make it 8 p.m. Mountain Time. So if you live in the Mountain Time, hello. And if you do, please contact me and let me know, because I don't know if I know anybody who actually lives in Mountain Time. I'd like to meet you. Anyways, how many times can I say anyways today? I guess I'm going to do it about 5 more times. Apologize. Where are we at here? We are going to talk about, so I kind of wrestled on how to actually handle today. I didn't know what we should be talking about first. Not necessarily what we should be talking about, but what we should be talking about first. And I do apologize. I have a tendency to look down my monitor probably a little too much. But as I'm also the producer of the show, I kind of have to. So today, I want to get, as always, which is kind of my motto, I like to get over with the bad things first, right? I always want to hear the bad news and then kind of work my way towards good news. So we always finish positive, and not just here on the show, but just in general in life. No one ever goes, I got bad news and I got good news. Give me the bad news first every time. So bad news. Bad news. Sorry. Had a weird message pop up. We're going to start with this. Columbus has fallen. Yes. Christopher Columbus has fallen, and apparently he can't get back up. Well, maybe he can, actually. I just read an article. Maybe he says he will. Not true, but, who knows. What is going on, to put it bluntly, is there was an issue last weekend where there were, I think I saw as many as 48 police officers injured while trying to defend the Christopher Columbus statue, which is a famous statue in Grant Park in Chicago. Being Friday, they didn't want a repeat of last weekend. There was, I don't know how many cops were seriously injured, but there was a couple who are still in the hospital. One who was really messed up. I think he might possibly lose vision. He had a head injury. I heard he also possibly broke a knee or something. Just bad injuries. We're not talking about he got a paper cut. We're talking some serious issues. And I guess from what happened last weekend, there were a number of protesters, who had come forth and set up weapons, I guess, if you will, or projectiles. They took frozen bottles, took cans of soup and froze them so they'd be, heavy and hard, things like that. And then they laid them out real quickly right before they decided they were going to start throwing them. So some very interesting people out there. But like I was saying, the famous Christopher Columbus statue in Grant Park was secretly removed overnight in the early morning today. So I'm not exactly sure what time it actually took place. Take a quick peek at this article. Maybe it'll have some more information. Oops. Gotta love ads. According to the Chicago Tribune here, in a move to seek protecting public safety, Mayor Lori Lightfoot removed the Columbus statue overnight from Chicago Park. And actually, it wasn't just one. There was another one. It's not nearly as famous, but there was another one they removed. Now, it does say in here that it was going to be potentially temporary. I don't know how temporary it's going to be, because if they took it down, chances are they're not going to put it back up. But we'll see. My guess is they won't, and my prediction, not my guess, my prediction is that they will not only will they not put it back up, they will probably put something up in its place, and only God knows what that will be at this point. I'm sure it'll be interesting, to say the least. Now, I know a lot of people this morning, when they found out about this, were rather perturbed, I guess would be a good word to use. And I guess rightly so, because, it's not like, it's kind of almost like, and if you're not familiar with Chicago or our mayors and its politics, you won't necessarily understand kind of the history, but Chicago's been run by Democrats for a long time, and we've had some interesting characters in office, and one of them was, we had two, a father and son, over time, and they were known as the Dailies. Well, the son, God, I'd be back in the 80s sometime, got really tired. So there was a private airstrip that was put in literally on the lakefront. It's called Midway. It's this little airport, and it was basically for private business people to be able to fly in town, fly out of town. Actually, it might have even been put in place by McCormick, who was one of the famous businessmen back in the day. He used to own WGN. I think he actually owned the Tribune and a couple other things. And a real famous, popular guy. Actually had an estate out in the western suburbs, and would take a plane and fly in and land in Chicago to do his business, and so his wife could do shopping. But yeah, so Midway was there for a long time, and for whatever reason, Mayor Daley just really hated that place, and he made several attempts over years to try to kind of get rid of it. And then realizing he wasn't going to get the backing to do it, in the middle of the night, just like Lori Lightfoot, he actually took charge and had bulldozers rip up the entire runway so it couldn't be used. And then from that point, just condemned it, ripped it down, and then I don't know exactly the process, but they essentially turned it into a park. So they removed all the concrete, put all grass in. And I'm sure he had his reasons for it. What they were, I don't know. Maybe he just didn't like the fact that people were flying in and out of the city like that. I don't know. But yeah, so make a long story short, he did that. And I think a lot of people were reminded of that behavior when Lori Lightfoot had gone out and ordered that the statue be removed in the middle of the night, when there'd be very little to no resistance and with no warning. And again, excuse me. It's the end of the day, and I've been talking so much, I needed to wet my whistle. More or less, what's happened is people were upset about, again, it reminded them of the whole Daley situation. And people were angry about it, and they were all over the, talk radio, local TV shows talking about it. And I have to say, it was actually probably one of her smarter moves she's made lately, at least since everything's been going on, excuse me, with the riots and the protesters and everything, because it's a way to get it down. It's a way to do it safely. It's kind of, I don't want to make this connection, but I'm going to make the connection. It's almost like what some of the federal agents who have been in Portland are doing. They're finding these known protesters and rioters walking in small groups, and that's when they apprehend them, when there isn't fanfare, when there isn't a large number of people to fight against. In the same way that they're doing that, she did it. Okay, so the path of least resistance, I guess you would call it. So it was kind of a smart decision. If she's going to do it, you might as well do it in such a manner where there isn't going to be a lot of resistance. And there is an honest argument to be made that she was concerned that there could be more. Well, and actually, it was even more so than that. There were actually scheduled protests at the Grant Park statue. So she used it as an excuse. Now, is she being honest by her belief that she was really concerned for the safety of people and that people were going to be attacked or hurt? Maybe, possibly. I don't know if I buy it. I think she wanted to get down. She wanted to get the statue down. She wants to get all the statues down, and this is just one of them to do. And once this is successful, maybe she'll start taking down more statues. We'll see. Only time will tell. But again, politically speaking, it was a smart move. If you're going to take them down, this is the way to do it. Again, I understand why a lot of people are upset. I don't know if I care. I mean, I understand a lot of people are mad at Christopher Columbus, but this is not a new argument. Christopher Columbus has had things said about him True or not, I don't know. For a long time. I'm talking since the 1800s, it's been an issue. In fact, almost 100 years ago, a number of years after the statue was first put up, people tried to take it down because they were upset it was Christopher Columbus. So it's not a new argument, but they're finally succeeding in their attempts to get this stuff removed, if you will. So yeah, that's kind of the big story of the day, which is a nice story considering that usually it has to do with something with shootings or getting shot at a funeral or some terrible muggings. You know, I mean, if this is the worst that happens today, then hey, fantastic, right? But and again, with how violent the protests were last week, I can totally understand why she might want to take the extra step to remove the points of aggression. But the thing is, I think people are just using the statues for that excuse, and they're still going to be angry, and they're still going to show up, and they're still going to want to hurt people and burn shit. Oh, pardon me. What am I kidding? If I want to swear, I can swear, right? I have no idea why I always worry about that. But yeah, so this was a kind of an image of it. They had, again, removed it in the middle of the night with no fanfare. They do say that it was a temporary move, but we will see long term what actually happens with it. Now, we'll get the bad news out of the way. That's done. Now we're going to move into sad news. Not bad news, but sad news. I'm just pointing this out there in case there's any Chicagoans or former Chicagoans who were familiar with this man, but didn't know, hadn't heard the news of it. There is a famous meteorologist in Chicago named Jerry Taft. He passed away. He was 77 years old. Now, before a lot of you get upset and say, "Oh my God, that's so young," it's not really that young. If you weren't aware, the average age of a man in the United States is about 74.7 years. So technically, he beat the odds. So just saying. But he was a meteorologist for, I think, 42 years in total, and the chief meteorologist for 33 years. So, I mean, I grew up watching him and probably Harry Volkman are probably the two that I grew up watching. He seemed like a good guy, and have no idea how he died. I kind of took a quick glance, and it doesn't really say anything. I don't think it was COVID. It's probably natural causes. Yeah, so I'm sure if it was something, that was bad or COVID related, I'm sure we'll hear about it within a day or two. I don't see why we wouldn't. But yeah, so I just want to kind of put that out there for anyone who might have known who he was and hadn't heard the news yet that he did die. Again, it's kind of a Chicago theme today. So yeah, so first we have Columbus being removed. Now we have a fallen meteorologist. From there, we are going to go to this. What we're going to go to is the Cubs. Now, I myself am not a huge Cubs fan. I have nothing against the Cubs. I love the Cubs. They're a Chicago team. I root for them just as long as they are not playing the Chicago White Sox. If they are, then I root for the White Sox. That's my team. But I like the Cubs, generally speaking. And I'm glad sports are back, as we talked about a couple of times recently, but also yesterday. I'm glad that sports are back. But there was a big what to do during this offseason because the Cubs have been broadcasted by WGN nationally. It's one of the reasons why they have such a national following is that they have been broadcasted for free on WGN for, I don't even know how many years, 60 years maybe more, I don't even know. And they'd always just automatically renew the contract. It's the way it was going to be. Well, the newer, not new, but newer owners, what are their names? I don't even know their names. Slipping my mind right now. But the owners of the Chicago Cubs, they decided that they were going to not re-sign the contract with WGN. And in fact, they were going to start their own broadcasting channel called Marquee. Marquee Sports Network. And I guess ultimately they want to bring more sports in on it. They'll probably try to get the Blackhawks or the Bulls or whoever on it. But right now it's just the Cubs. That being said, there was a lot of issues with contracts because most people in the area watch WGN. Not a lot of people have cable, and very few comparatively even have like satellite dish. So they were trying to do something with a couple of the satellite dish companies before, but people are getting angry because things weren't coming out right because only a small population were going to be able to see it. And most people didn't want to bother getting satellites just to watch Cubs games. It just seems silly. So there was talks that they were going to try to get in with Comcast because Comcast is the cable provider of the Chicagoland area. There are smaller ones, but Comcast is probably going to be 85-90% of the market when it comes to cable companies. They had hit some snags apparently over time, and I am happy to report that it looks like they have come to an agreement, and they're going to be Comcast is going to be showing and carrying Marquee in the Chicagoland area, which is wonderful news if you're a Cubs fan. Again, I'm not a Cubs fan, but I like the Cubs. And, I'm glad that the people who are true fans are able to watch them. Because, like I said, it would suck. I mean, imagine spending your whole life, especially if you're 50, 60, 70 years old, and you spent literally your entire life watching every Cubs game for free, and now you wouldn't even be able to watch a game because you had no access to it. That would be crazy, right? So most people will have cable, so they can get it that way. Again, it's not a perfect solution. And I do think they are working with some other networks as well, so it's not exclusive, so hopefully everyone can get it. And I think there'll be some free games broadcasted on maybe like Fox. Those will be more like national games. But yeah, so that's a good thing. So we've kind of gone from Columbus being taken down in the middle of the night to the death of a beloved meteorologist, and now we're getting some good news, right? We're getting some good news. Now we're going to go and hop into a section which is not it's not bad news, but it's not good news. And this is really more of a PSA I would actually like to personally share with you, and that would be this. I was on Twitter earlier, and I noticed that there was a trending of Cash App. Now, apparently Cash App, if you don't know what that is, it is an app that allows you to pay people money. It's kind of like a Venmo, or I'm sure there's like 5 other popular apps out there, but Cash App is one of the big ones. I've personally never used it, but I see it all the time. People are like, oh, hit up my Cash App. You can pay me for whatever services or whatever. And apparently Cash App was promoting a hashtag like Cash App Friday, just to try to get their name out there and kind of get people talking about them, which is fine. It's a business. Kudos to them for trying and, trying to get some free marketing through Twitter. I get it. Cool. But I did notice when I did the hashtag for Cash App, well, actually, let me just pull it up so you can see. So here. So again, this was Cash App Friday, was trending, and a lot of things have Cash App, but if you notice, it'll have something like this, where it'll say the first 100 to 120 people to love or retweet this will get $1,500 or $6,000 as a blessing to the Cash App. And I'm like, okay, well, that's just ridiculous, right? That's just so stupid. Who would fall for something like that? Because there's got to be something to it. Like, obviously, they're just trying to get likes, right? I get it. So that's kind of cool. Trying to get retweets and likes and people to subscribe to them and follow them. And it's creative. But chances are people are not going to be paying out this kind of money. Like here, this is a much more realistic one. I'm giving away $10 to a random person who retweets this tonight, picking when I wake up in the morning. So again, that's one person saying $10. Okay, that's probably legit, right? But again, it's good marketing. It's using the tools that are available to you to get to be seen, to put this out there and be like, hey, you retweet this, you comment, you do whatever, and it's a way to move your algorithms to get you pushed up onto front pages of things, and it's smart marketing. Cheap marketing. But then you'll see this again over and over and over again. And it'll be like, retweet if you like $1,000 in your Cash App. And it's just one thing after another. And dozens, probably hundreds of these. And I just put Cash App in there. This is not a special search, right? I literally just put in Cash App. And this is just one after another, after another, after another, after another. And it got me thinking, some of these people are legitimately using this as an opportunity to get some exposure, right? They're saying, I'm going to give one person $10. I'm going to give one person $20. Okay, those are probably legit. Again, they're just, using the system to the best of their ability. But I'm seeing so many of them on here, literally dozens of, probably not hundreds of people promising, giving out, $100 or $500 or $1,000 to the first 300 people who tweet this. Chances are there's something more to it than that, because they're not going to pay out that money. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're Bill Gates. You're not paying out that money. So why would they be putting themselves out there to get exposure? Because most people aren't going to retweet that, but there's going to be some people who are going to get involved. So I kind of did some further digging, and it seems like this is kind of a scam in such a sense where they can try to get you to follow them. They can use certain tools to try to not only manipulate you later on, like phishing expeditions, if you know what that is. You send someone an email or or direct message saying, oh, if you do this, do that, I'll give you this. And then all of a sudden they're stealing your identity or whatever. But, they might even be flat out trying to hack you, thinking you're gullible, thinking that you're whatever. And I have a feeling that's much more of what's going on in this type of thread on Twitter. And it's sad. I mean, it's a terrible thing that's going on, something that's avoidable. And I want to make you aware of it in case you're not, because you could be anyone from, a 12-year-old to a 70-year-old watching this right now. And you may or may not be aware that there are people out there like this. And as you can see, I mean, it just goes on and on and on about, I mean, random person $20, I'm going to do this. And here's another one. I'll be blessing the first 300 people who like and retweet this between $750 and $1,500 to Cash App, Venmo, Apple Pay. I mean, they're just putting it across the board. Do you seriously believe that? DM me also. See right there, boom, that's a red flag. Obviously, they're probably trying to get you to join their, what do they call those? OnlyFans? No, yeah, OnlyFans or something like that. Some service where you pay them money for whatever. Probably something along those lines. Or it'll be like one of those Nigerian prince things where they'll be like, oh, I'm going to, you give me, $100 and I'll give you $400. I can take that money and then multiply it and give it back to you tomorrow. And then you never hear from them again. I guarantee you an overwhelming majority of people are these people. And because of it, I'm just warning you, watch out. Be careful. This is the internet, okay? I know you know, and I've seen it 100 times, and I know all this, and I'm not gullible. Everybody is gullible from time to time, and you will and can make mistakes. So whenever I see something like this, I want to take the time to point it out to you, just because I think you're worth it. And I think that it's good that people are aware of this and spread this, the warnings that this nonsense exists. So if you ever see anything on Twitter or your Facebook about Venmo or Cash App or, about retweeting things and liking things and getting money for free, nobody gets money for free. Again, maybe the person giving out $10, that's either legit or at least non-harmful, most likely. But watch out for the scams. So now that we've got that out of the way, I wanted to do a little bonus section. Like you, probably, I like to learn. So whenever I have an opportunity to learn something new, I want to take it, right? And that one of the easiest ways for me to be able to accomplish that is to be able to do simple words of the day. So I usually subscribe to a number of services like dictionary.com and the Merriam-Webster dictionary, just these big popular ones who have big websites, and it's easy to do and get notices through email. Oops, sorry about that. Apparently I had a notification. Got to turn that off next time. My apologies. So I did this. I decided that I got an email today kind of with like all the words of the day, right? Almost like a theme. And I'm like, okay, for the whole week. So I'm like, oh, that was kind of interesting. And then I started looking at it. And then I was a little surprised about some of these, because I mean, again, I do multiple services, so I don't always see the word of the day and everything. And sometimes it's only in an app or whatever, so I don't see it all. But I got this email and I kind of found it interesting. I'll use that word, interesting, as to what this big famous international dictionary company decided to send me an email on, right? So I thought it was something worth sharing. And that would be this link right here. So for those of you who cannot see at home, I will do my best reading as much of it as I can. So basically it has a bunch of words that were used throughout the day. So this is going to be these are the words this week are slightly dark. Here's a bright photo. Well, isn't that interesting? Why would the words for the whole week be slightly dark? It's kind of weird. So the first word they have on here is folklore. Now I have a feeling that was used because if you hadn't heard already, covered it yesterday, Taylor Swift has released a surprise album. She recorded a new album. I think it's 14 songs. And the name of the album is called Folklore. So chances are that's why they did this. And Folklore, it's literally, and again, it even says right on here, because surprise announcement of the new album for Taylor Swift's briefly propelled Folklore to the top of lookups this week. So that's why Folklore is listed on there. Again, this is Merriam-Webster. I'm sure you've heard the name. Maybe if you're old like me, you have probably seen who they are. They're old dictionaries, old physical handbooks, and now they're on the internet, of course, and on their apps. Second one is Alienist. Now this is on here because there was a release of the second season, finally, of the television show Alienist. I don't know if you ever saw it. It's actually kind of interesting. It's about, was it Jack the Ripper? based way back in the whenever that was, 1800s. But it's actually, I saw most of the first season. I don't know why I lost track of it, but I did. And so I'll probably finish that up now. And now there's a second season coming out. So that's kind of exciting. So again, not bad. Folklore, alienist, no big deal, right? Why they say that, how they put it, the words this week are slightly dark. Interesting. Wonder why they say that. Oh, here we go. We have accost. Okay. It was also very much in the news last week after a representative, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, reported that her colleague Ted Yoho, boy, that's a terrible name, had done this to her. And I won't read it all, but it said, well, I might as well read it real quickly for people at home. We got a couple minutes. So it says, I never spoke to Rep. Yoho before he decided to accost me on the steps of the nation's capital yesterday. Ocasio-Cortez wrote, believe it or not, I usually get along fine with my GOP colleagues. We know how to check our legislative sparring at the committee door. But hey, bitches get stuff done. This is reported by Caitlin O'Kane from CBS News. So what happened is apparently he had accosted her, if you don't know what that word is, now you do, on the steps of the Capitol, the outside steps, and they had gotten into a little verbal tiff. I don't know why. I'm sure there's a whole story behind it. But apparently he had called her a bitch and done it, or an effing bitch, I think, was she had said somewhere else, and more than one time. And that's why she started to say, but hey, bitches get stuff done. So that's kind of why that was in there. And now again, we jump from that to words from Portland. Why would Portland be in the dictionary? Well, why would it be mentioned for the words of the week in the dictionary? Because they decided to use words in recognition of the riots and protests that are going on in Portland and the federal agents there and the what have you. All the action that's happening there. So, I'm not going to have a chance to read all this because we do only have a couple minutes left. But if you just simply go to Merriam-Webster.com and go to words of the day or the words of the week, you'll be able to find all this. Let's see if they actually have the words broken out here. There were such words like insurrectionist and paramilitary and surge and Gestapo. Oh, dear God. Why did Gestapo come up? We know what the Gestapo is. It comes from German, from Geheim, and I cannot say that second word. I won't even attempt it. It literally means secret state police. So now they're trying to say that what's happening in Portland is a secret state police. Now, I don't know if you know what's going on. I kind of covered it a little bit last night. So you can go ahead and watch that video or just Google Portland, Google federal agents, and you'll get a story. But I do recommend if you're going to do that, if you're going to go on the internet and just do a general search, try to find as many sources as you can. Don't just listen to CNN or Fox News because you're not going to hear even half the story, let alone the whole story. Try to, get 4 or 5 or 6 different sides to the story and then you can kind of piece it together, if you will. But yeah, they chose to use such words like Gestapo. I think that might be about it. Secret police. Oh, yeah. Yeah. So secret police, that was in there too. Defined as a police organization operating for the most part in secrecy. Well, surprise, surprise. But again, it's kind of a sad time we live in, right? Scary time, but also interesting. And if nothing else, you should learn something new. So I recommend if you don't subscribe to a word of a day, you should. Again, dictionary.com is usually pretty good. Merriam-Webster was pretty good, but maybe they'll continue to be good in the future. I do not know. But yeah, that's about it. That's all we're going to have a chance to cover. So this has been the Friday edition. We've gone through the whole week again. So we're done for the week. We'll be back next week, Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. Adjust accordingly for your time zone, wherever you might live. And again, we'll be back here for 5 days next week. And don't forget that tomorrow is Saturday, which means I have my Libertarian Hour at noon Central Standard Time. And we're going to be starting a new series. They're going to be sensitive issues that are dealt within the Libertarian Party, and we're going to be talking about the actual views of the Libertarian Party. So it's not something you're going to want to miss. If you can't make it live, I totally understand. You can always watch it on replay. We're on YouTube and Facebook and Twitter and Twitch and you name it. Wherever you're at, we're there. And if you're on audio, we're on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio. if you have an iPhone, you have or not an iPhone, any type of tablet, any type of smartphone, any type of computer, you can easily consume all of this. And I recommend that you do. But again, we're already over 30 minutes, so I'm going to get out of here. I hope you guys have a fantastic day. I hope you had a fantastic week. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Hopefully, we'll see you tomorrow. And if not, I will definitely see you next week. So until then, have a good one.